Next week on Thursday, Chapter 5, Your Honor. We made it up the steps to the courthouse, one at a time. I was accustomed to the wide-eyed glances and rapidly averted gazes that our appearance aroused. We made a curious spectacle, a pair of ill-matched socks, an odd couple. Harold's briefcase and my handbag went through the X-ray machine, and we extended our arms for further scrutiny under a handheld electronic device. It beeped as it swept over my friend's belt buckle. The uniformed security officer waved us on. Harold tottered forward, and I followed, one hand protectively at the ready, lingering where he could pretend not to see it. A threesome bore down on us, a youngish man, an elderly woman, and Bertha. Bertha ignored me pointedly when we stepped into the elevator together. I noted her careless attire with some surprise. She wore a nondescript dress and plain summer sandals. Her hair hung unwashed and lank about her face, deliberately drab and dowdy. The man was uninspiring, both in appearance and carriage. He made an awkward half-bow and shook Harold's hand deferentially. "Mr. Wiseman, I am Jerome Pagolo. And this is—" He introduced his second female companion. The name rang a bell. It was of consequence in certain circles. I recognized it from conversations at my former place of work. Harold nodded and smiled. Pagolo didn't acknowledge me. Jerome Pagolo was a stand-in this morning for the head honcho of his firm. The boss would show up for the final curtain. Bertha's manner, reprehensible as it was remotely excusable, I supposed. Such ill-bred behavior from a lawyer, however, was unexpected. The man behaved as if he had a personal vendetta against me. The atmosphere inside the elevator was chilly. The ride to the 7th floor felt endless. The sight of Bertha triggered off loud memories. They played out noisily in my head. The last time I talked to Bertha was when I told her I'd been dismissed over the phone the night before. Our mutual employer's stalwart henchwoman protested. "Surely not. It must be a mistake. Maybe you misunderstood." "No misunderstanding at all, Bertha. She meant every word." "I don't understand. You've been good friends. Why?" she persisted. My erstwhile lawyer claimed copyright ownership and authorship of the musical play I created. "Because I refused to sign over my rights to my play in exchange for a check for $300, I told her. 30 pieces of silver, worth $10 each. Harold's words. Bertha refused to believe me. The unidentified woman addressed me. "It's a nice day, isn't it?" I smiled, grateful for the kindness. A reluctant warmth slunk into the chill in my veins. The elevator doors beeped and opened. We all filed out, an odd flock of sheep. A court clerk ushered us into an informal meeting room. The proceedings were casual. Conference table, no robes or wigs, presided over by an impeccably groomed Frenchman with a hint of an accent. His ease and youthful demeanor seemed out of keeping with his lofty seat. The callow Mr. Pagolo went out of his way to insult me. His attitude of courtesy and respect towards Harold, in glaring contrast, bordered on the unctuous. Bertha, who until now had avoided eye contact, hissed, "You are wasting your time. You'll never win." I met her flinty stare head on, never taking my eyes off her face, until she squirmed and looked away. I maintained my unblinking scrutiny, not deigning a response. Brutus. It was evident from the outset that Harold would not be able to make himself understood in spite of the amplifier he wore strapped around him. The agony of his plight was unbearable as he sat unruffled, smiling, while everyone talked down to him and over and around him. I had to speak up. "Your Honor, could I help?" I was aghast at my temerity. The judge nodded. The garbled grunts from my lawyer's lips fell like leaden weights into the tense silence. The constriction in my chest grew. My lip-reading skills failed. In a courtroom with a voiceless attorney, who but an idiot would find herself in such a predicament? A jerk of the head from the bench. The court clerk rose and placed a sheaf of paper and a ballpoint pen in front of Harold. The judge addressed me. "Madam, the court will hear you read aloud what he writes." I had difficulty deciphering the wayward scrawl. The judge cleared his throat. "The session is adjourned. A trial date will be set for the spring." Harold's lips moved. "Your Honor, I don't expect to be alive in the spring." A strangely surreal moment. Harold's words emerged impossibly loud and clear and rang out like a gunshot. Everyone in the still room heard him. We were all taken aback. There was a split second of awkward silence before the judge spoke. "Mr. Wiseman, we wish you well. We hope you will have a safe return to health." Necessary inanities. Harold smiled and bobbed his head in acknowledgement. He always smiled. The session was adjourned. Harold jerked to his feet. I picked up my handbag and stood up. I couldn't wait to get out of there. To be continued.